let's get into our deep dive. Lou, if you want to introduce it to everybody for us.
Yeah, y'all, we're going to be talking about OP characters. If you followed us over on TikTok, we kind of kicked off the series with talking about how the Russo brothers handled OP characters, mainly centered around Vision, Hulk, and Thor. But with this, we're going to do kind of a two-parter here, but we're really going to start off with really what is an OP character. And I think a good spot is just kind of get a foundation for all of us, like, what do we think OP is and what does OP mean to us? So here, I'm going to flip it back over to you first if you want to kick it off.
So to me, OP means that no matter what is thrown at you, you will overcome it. And I think that's changed a little bit for me because I think before OP used to mean like you would beat whatever came at you with little ease. And I think for a lot of people, that is still what OP means. Like it's that it means it's not a problem. And I do think that there's going to be things that shouldn't be a problem in comparison. But I think for the most part, as long as someone can beat whatever they are facing, that's an OP character. And I think the best representation of all of OP characters ever, I'll say this 10 toes down with my whole chest, is All Might from My Hero Academia.
Ooh.
I think he is the best example of what an OP character is, whether you have a clear weakness, be it emotional or physical or both, and you are still able to overcome anything that's thrown at you. Because let's be honest, even though My Hero has gone so far from it, the first time that he fights that Nomu and he just breaks through it, it's so cool.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
I agree. And I think when you get to OP or overpowered in the sense of like, in the literal term of it, you have a lot of people that are like, this person can't lose. This person won't lose. They do things mostly with relative ease. However, I think, I mean, gosh, we're reading stuff dating back, 30, 40 years. I think for us, and for me specifically, Overpowered is definitely that character that has the physical attributes and the feats to be better than anyone, right? There's little limit to their character from that standpoint of their power set, but also when they're written well, they do have to to your point, some sort of limiter that's put on top of them. There's something about them that stops them from just being able to go crazy at any point, anytime that they want. I think your Eastern shows kind of challenge that a little bit more and push the limit, but they do write it very well to where it's still interesting to watch. And that's the thing I want to point out is OP typically equals to people not interesting. I don't always think that's true, but I think the most interesting OP characters are definitely the ones that have the combination of great character art with arcs, with very strong emotional elements layered into it, but they also give you the spectacles and the visual feats that make you go, wow.
Yeah.
That, to me, is fantastic. And SB, we'll kick it over to you. Just yoink. Where'd he go? He's like,
Moreland finally got him. Man, R.I.P. No, let me not even put that out there because someone would that think, wow, he actually got.
Yeah. Tarnished on the best day. But talk to me a little bit about kind of as we get into like DCU, MCU for this conversation a little bit, or maybe any fandom, but what are some things that you like seeing? Do you have any examples, characters, movies, time shows that like for you beyond just like My Hero would have been good examples of that, and then potentially maybe even examples of that missed?
Yeah, I think one example that I really do like in hindsight, right now being older and being able to appreciate it, and I know we kind of made a TikTok on it, but Hulk, the Incredible Hulk, the 2008 movie, Hulk feels really good in there.
Yeah,
both like as the emotional story that they're trying to tell and the physical displays of his powers, because Abomination is so much bigger than him.
Yeah.
And like really when Abomination does first come out, like he's putting the work on Hulk, but Hulk is just able to like again overcome it. And when he stands tall, he feels like a beast. And I think that's the big thing where it's like when these characters overcome whatever challenge they do, how do they look? Do they look like they just went through war, or are they standing tall like as if it was nothing? Another
Yeah.
great example, Godzilla.
Oh my god, dude. Okay, as soon as you said the Hulk thing, I was like, I was gonna add one part of like, I like when you have your OP characters that they went through a fight, dude, and they won.
Mhm.
And then he lets out like a huge Hulk roar or something like that. And I was like, damn, kind of reminds me of Godzilla in a lot of ways. And as soon as you said that, oh, that was perfect segue, bro.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, no, Godzilla. I mean, I think about every time when he'll hit his atomic breath, and then he's standing with the head of whoever he just fought, and he just lets out that roar. Like it's so cool. It's so cool. Or just like in I think it's King of the Monsters, where he just beat King Ghidorah,
Mm-hmm.
and he's just sitting there glowing after this nuke after sitting there and absorbing all the nuclear power, and it's just the shadows, and everybody's like, I'm really glad he fights for us. And
Yeah.
it's just like him
Yeah.
staring at
Yeah.
the people on the boat.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, God, he feels like you literally look at Godzilla and think like, who can beat him?
Right. You can try, but like you're probably not going to, which again kind of makes like two interesting points for me. I think when you look at OP characters, I think at the end, you want them to have that big battle to where they overcome whatever it is that's in front of them and they stand tall at the end. Because eventually when you get to like in Infinity War, when they do lose, which they're gonna come back and win at the end of the day. But when they do take that loss, whoever goes over them, you're like, what?
Yeah.
Which opens the door for so many other characters to take a step forward in so many ways to kind of bridge that gap until the OP character finally comes back and like, yeah, recharged, let's go. Some of your better shows that have OP characters, they do that. And I think that just kind of elevates everyone, which is why I think it's so interesting that people are like, I don't like OP characters, because I'm like, at the end of the day, when you do have a really strong established OP character, you can raise the bar for everyone else so much faster and get buy-in for so much longer. And it gives you so many options. Do you want to create a story? Do you want to do a spin-off? You can do all these things that center around that character. I think of, and I go back to My Hero Academia.
Mhm.
When you look at vigilantes, just the thought of knowing that All Might is there is like, oh, this is cool. This is elevating the scene in the moment that we're talking about. Same thing with Hulk. When you get to Avengers, the fact that he's on the helicarrier, you're like, what's going to happen? How good is Thor? And when Thor cracks Hulk with that, you're like, Thor's the man. Thor is there. Okay, like you've just elevated everyone else that's in their gravity.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. 100%. Again, using My Hero and especially Vigilantes right now, just because it's more current and we don't get to talk about anime as much. But Knuckle Duster feels
Oh, yeah.
so overpowered.
Yeah.
And he's just a guy.
Yeah.
So much so that everybody around him is literally the thing that they're just like, dude, all you do is punch. Why are you so strong? Like it doesn't in this world where the heroes have these like super extraordinary powers, so much so that they have a ranking based on where they're at.
Mhm.
They look at this nobody who is just kicking their butt.
And again, there are those qualities for those characters, and this is why it's cool. Because when you do get the OP feel, again, there's the aura about him of like, I don't have fear. I'm going to run into danger. I'm going to get in there. I'm gonna hit you first, type of thing. But then you come to find out potentially of like, you peel back the layers, then insert the emotional arcs. Then you're like, oh damn, I know why he's doing it. And then everything just hits so much better. But there is a common denominator of you start OP and end OP and figure it out in between. That's huge.
Yeah. Yeah. And to that point, it's why Superman will always work, because generally people have this weird idea that like just because Superman is super powerful and has really only like two major weaknesses between magic and kryptonite, people are like, oh, but he's boring. There's no stakes for him. There's
Yeah,
no
that's
emotional
yeah,
depth. And it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
did you watch Justice League the animated series? Did you watch Justice League Unlimited? Did you watch
But
Superman the animated series?
okay, let me ask you the question because you brought up. I don't want it to get lost. Do you think that stakes are what hurts OP characters the most? Lack of
Probably
stakes.
more than likely, yes. And I would say probably most to casual fans that don't know. Because if they fully don't understand the character, they're going to assume that there's a lack of stakes. When in reality they are there. However, not everybody knows how to balance that out for that particular character. So I do think it hurts. Out of everything that can potentially bring a character down, that's the one.
All right, may I ask you this question then? What would you say in this scenario would be what elevated Cap the most and what hurt Hulk the most for this movie, if you had to say?
Is Cap
I'm putting you on the
ridiculous
spot.
OP against Thanos? I think it's, and this is the hard part about the MCU is what they've built up. Because again, this is Infinity War is the payoff of so many stories. The Hulk getting bodied feels terrible because of Ragnarok, where we just saw him fight Thor and literally fight Fenris Wolf, who arguably is probably stronger than Thor, or at least on par up there, or at least on par with Hela, at least. And we saw him put up a fight. In Infinity War, he gets I counted it for that video. I didn't get to mention it in that TikTok, but I did count how many hits Thanos gets in. He beats him in under 20 punches. He beats him in like he gives him like a mean 13-piece combo. Like an uninterrupted mean 13
No
piece
barbecue
combo.
sauce.
No barbecue sauce, drier than a Popeye's biscuit. Hits him all. And then Hulk literally does nothing. From the second that Hulk gets punched in the neck, when he like grabs him and then he just punches him in the neck, he just stares at him. He does not swing. And when he does, he gets parried and he swings so slow. Cap doesn't feel overpowered because to me, and I think to a lot of people in that scene, all Thanos is doing is just trying to grab him. He's not really using the Infinity Stones in any way. He's just trying to, because he sees this person. He's like, yeah, that's just a dude. So all he does is try to, grab him. And I think he gets shocked for a minute that he can, or not shocked. I think he's intrigued by the fact that, like, oh, he's stopping me. And then once that intrigue wears off, he just knocks him out.
Yeah.
So Cap doesn't even feel OP.
But I think it goes back to kind of what we're saying from an optics perspective of starting OP, ending OP, taking now Infinity War and Endgame into one. When Cap shows up first in Infinity War, it's pretty badass. Like those spears were driving through Avengers characters unnecessarily, but it doesn't matter. They happen. And Proxima Midnight and Corvus Glaive had Vision and Wanda, two very OP characters, on the ropes.
Yeah.
So when we get to the point where we're in that train station and she whips it at him and he's like yoink out of the air, and then Black Widow, Cap, and Falcon stomp him and have him crawling away and then beam up Scotty, that team feels that trio feels really good. And that trio had mad aura from the start. And you look at Hulk got smoked. Now go to the end of Infinity War. There is no Hulk. And you have a Hulkbuster and he's clowning against Cole Obsidian, whereas Cap is holding back Thanos' gauntlet hand. Those are not even close in the same realm of cool.
Yeah. But at no point does he feel overpowered, though.
But I think there's the perception of he feels elevated. I wouldn't say overpowered per se, but he feels like he has that strength and that chance, and he feels like he's the next one up type of thing. Whereas Hulk never got that ever again. And
Yeah.
even in the end, now Cap is OP
Yeah.
when he's got
that's true.
Mjolnir. You know what I mean? So like,
Fair point. Fair point.
he always felt like he was A to S tier, where Hulk started D tier and ended like F tier.
Yeah. Let's get him in here, see what he thinks about it. SB. Moreland didn't get you.
Nope.
It was the
Almost
internet.
got me. Almost freaking got me, but I fought him off.
Did you
Or we
offer
could
him
just say it
your
was the internet.
I was gonna say, did you offer him your spider tattoo as a totem? Where you're like, hey, I'll
Still
give you
here,
this?
maybe. I had to. We don't talk about the sacrifice. I'll find out in a later episode.
Oh,
Dang.
okay.
Are we
Stay
gonna
tuned.
see we're gonna see a panel where they're all sitting at the table and it's Spider-Man or Spider Brando's black suit Spider-Man in the middle on a platter next to like some turkey legs, and like,
Exactly.
I got it. I got it.
I like
Just
it.
to be on Spider-Man.
I don't know what happened with my internet, but I had to reset it. I think we're good
All
now,
good.
though.
All right. How much to you, SB? I think this is a good subset to that question. Then, how much does a coolness factor play into an overpowered character? Does
do you
an
mean?
OP character have to be cool?
No. I don't think they have to be cool. But usually most OP characters are cool because they are OP.
Yeah.
So, but like, I'm trying to think of an example of someone that's OP but not so cool. To me, a perfect example actually, Saitama, One Punch Man. That dude is OP.
Ooh.
I hate that show. I tried getting into it. I don't think he's that cool. And like, into the show. It's just one I can't get into. I'm just going around and just
Punching people.
punching everybody. Yeah, I don't know. But to everyone, I've heard is like really good. Maybe I'll give it another shot in the future. But I remember when I did try getting into it, it wasn't. I don't know. Something about it just threw me off. And I never thought Saitama was cool.
It's his
So-
non-OP stuff.
What?
It's like his non-OP stuff that like makes him not cool, but
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So I don't think they have to be cool. Though.
I agree.
Like, I mean, just because I said that example, it doesn't mean that like a lot of people like Saitama and think that he is like cool. But to me, not so much. So I don't think they have to be cool.
But I think he's a perfect example because, like, I think to both your point and Lou's point, like, outside of him fighting, he's not a cool character. I'd argue that
Deku's cool. Deku's kind of OP.
I was gonna say, like, Deku, All Might, Superman, like, outside of everything that they do, they're cool characters to see and watch. Hulk, the Emotionals, Thor's, same thing.
Anime
like,
has so
outside
many
of what
OP
they do.
people, man, it's insane.
Yeah. So I think to that point, then to kind of start laying the foundation of what we're going to talk about next week, right? In specific, and we'll get to that to the end. And Lou, I'll throw this back over to you. Who are some of the best used OP characters within the MCU, and who are some of the worst used characters within the MCU?
I think right now, especially because it's fresh, I think the best OP case that we've gotten in recent memory is Sentry. And the reason why it's Sentry is because I think there's a balance, but they did a better job of kind of reserving the character, but putting limiters on him. Mainly, the more Sentry I am, the more Void that I can become.
Mm-hmm.
That's a limiter. But he's going to have moments like we saw where he can pop off and take pretty much anyone. And again, that team that he beat of the New Avengers were not slouches at all whatsoever. Like, at all.
2 super soldiers?
3.
3. Yeah, 3.
Yeah. 3 super soldiers and a master
Someone-
assassin.
And a phase. Someone who can phase through
And
literally
Ghost, who,
anything.
by the way, but find me somebody who's going to take out Ghost in the MCU real quick, chat. If you can think, give me 2 characters that you're like Ghost 1v1 would lose against. I'd love to know.
Besides Sentry.
Besides Sentry and Wanda. But But even to that point, though, of like Strange, I guess you could put Strange in there if you wanted to.
Yeah.
I think there are two versions of this, and I'm going to say this differently. I think Sentry is probably your best example of start OP, probably stay OP, but you do have your organic versions of characters start weak and become OP. And that's probably like an Iron Man. I'd put Iron Man in the OP category, especially at the end. For the most part, he's cracking everyone. He went toe to toe with Thanos and Hulk in different ways. And throughout the show, he's even shown that he can kind of somewhat hold his own against Thor, but he's grown to a point where he can be in that final fight, right? I think those are probably your best examples of it. But again, there's an investment in those characters. And I think that's the key thing to talk about here is what's making OP is a balance and showcase of aura. They look cool. They have the spectacle. They can make the big play. And you can look at these characters and be like, if I picked you, would we win?
Yeah.
And be like, versus who? And I pick anyone. Do we have a shot at winning? The answer is probably yes. So those are my choices from an MCU perspective.
For sure. SB, how about you?
Thor. Well, I know Thor.
You want to say Thor? I know you want to. You were trying to say like, why not to say Thor?
Yeah.
Say Thor. You
Let's
can
say Thor. You can say Thor. Yeah.
I'm going with Thor after doing some research. He just had such a freaking high in Ragnarok, man. It was so good, and then just got boggled down and down.
Can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question real quick? Because we haven't talked about this yet, and I'm not trying to jump the gun for next week. But SB, and doing some research in there, did he recover for you in Love and Thunder to make him feel OP again after Endgame?
Yeah, a lot of the arguments against Endgame kind of just ended at Endgame, and I was like, Here, I have to feel like Love and Thunder just doesn't exist.
And that's the interesting thing. That's the interesting thing
He
of
turns
like
into a freaking lightning bolt going up that damn like tower thing. I'm like, that's pretty freaking badass, dude. That's pretty OP.
And not just that. I mean, like the Guardians literally when they can't beat those people in the first part of the movie, they're like, oh, we need Thor. Dude comes in, and as comedic as he is, the fact that he's like stopping these things with splits and stuff, like, yo, that's like pretty big. Just in case you don't know, Thor recovers from Endgame, which is why Thor still feels good at the end of it. Like, that's why in comparison to someone like Hulk, he recovered. Hulk didn't. Hulk's still stuck where he's at.
Besides any of them, do you have anyone here?
In the best or the worst?
Either.
Best, I will also agree, Sentry. I think Sentry is by far the best one that they've been able to introduce. I do think Doctor Strange is also up there. And I think he's one that's been like organically being able to show how he's able to progress into an OP character. At first starting with the Infinity Stone, but now like outside of it, because we don't think about it, but like him being able to dreamwalk is genuinely an OP tactic or whatever we want to call it. However, I think one of the worst ones, and I'm curious to see what you guys think, Captain Marvel. Why would we put her in the worst category and not the best?
I'm going to be honest with you.
Pretty OP.
I think she's very OP, but she's not interesting OP. And I think they did like she had too many hands in the cookie jar type of thing with her character.
Yeah.
To where even though Thor kind of did to an extent as well, he always still felt like
the most.
Thor, I think Thor actually did have the most. He's at like 4 directors.
Yeah, 4.
Like even with Captain Marvel, I think it's 3. You just feel like she can always do more. And she doesn't. And like her coolest scene is just flying through Thanos' ship for the most part for me.
Is it the fact that her emotional stakes aren't there?
I also will put that on the sins of the MCU in between Captain Marvel when it came out and then Infinity War and Endgame. Of just like, I don't care. Like, you did nothing to make me care about that character. Like, you brought back Tony. cool. Even when she showed up in the beginning and he's like, "Oh, it's so bright," and then it's Captain Marvel. I'm like, "Oh, bro, come on, man! Like,
Yeah.
I shouldn't want to feel that way, but I did. But I did."
Yeah.
And then you're like, "You want tacos?" And I'm like, "Bro, what are we doing with these scenes, dude? Like, this is terrible."
Yeah. I mean, oh man, and Dill in chat saying one that I think we try to forget constantly, but Gaia.
And Gravik.
The
Oh my
Gravik.
gosh, boo.
Yeah.
Gaia's
So
the best.
yeah, those are definitely like the best worst picks. Those two right there.
Honorable mention Vision, though.
For worst?
I would say worse. I do think he had a great arc with Wanda. Thought it was super cool. Thought it was great. Definitely still hit.
Yeah.
But like, also, I kind of am gonna bump up Age of Ultron in my rankings a little bit because they got some good action scenes in there, baby, that we haven't seen in a minute. But
Age of Ultron and I think What If really make Ultron or Vision age poorly.
what if 100% for me, y'all? What if really made Age of Ultron? I'm like, this kind of sucks because people said that too. They're just like, Vision could just zap people and it's over. But I think that's the OP question. People don't want to see that. But what If did was very interesting of taking that story somewhere else that the main MCU couldn't. So I think it was a great What If story. And Ultron Vision is nasty. Just one of the best animated Marvel characters ever.
Yeah. And I think
Infinity Ultron, whatever.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think this would be a good place to kind of explain what we're going to do next week and how this all ties into it. In case you guys want to add anything else before we do?
No, give us more OP. What?
I was going to say, we should have more OP. Yeah, where did Vision go during the airport scene? He's just going around. But next week we're going to talk about the Russo brothers and how they handle OP characters. And the main reason is because Avengers Doomsday, when we think about it, has a lot of OP characters that we haven't even touched on yet. And more than likely, Secret Wars is going to have even more. And the fact that they are also, and the fact that they're also bringing in all these other characters who we also haven't really touched on either yet. But like when we think about it, Magneto, huge OP character. When we really think about it, Professor X, huge OP character. When we think about it, Shang-Chi, OP character with the 10 rings. Let's be honest. And how they're handling
God
of the
of
few.
Loki. God of story Loki.
Yeah. And God Emperor Doom. Dr. Doom himself, really. Reed Richards. When you think about it, like almost the entirety of the Fantastic Four are OP in their own ways. If he's in it, yeah.
He's probably not going to be in it.
But they have so many characters, and when we really start to think about it, Infinity War and Endgame, when you really break it down, do not age as well. Like when you really start thinking about it and how they use all these characters, specifically the overpowered ones, they don't feel great. And you look at Thanos, I think Thanos is a perfect example of someone that we're like, Thanos was amazing. And when you really think about it, he's not. He's not. And I think it's good to have a foundation of what an OP character looks like and what makes them interesting. And I think throughout this, we've been able to kind of establish that it's a mix of things, a different mix and mesh of things to really come together.
Yeah. And real quick on that, because I know we're going to focus on the Russos, but I do think there is something to be said. Dill, you put something in there about Steppenwolf for sure. I think there is the world where in DC it was most egregious to where your characters felt OP for moments and they were just outrageously OP moments, but those characteristics never carried over. Or you had characters like Flash, for example, that are disgustingly OP, but they don't even scratch the surface of it. And so when you say Flash is OP, people are like, no.
Flash is genuinely, like when it comes to characters, like top two. The only other one that I can really put up there is like Superman, but like top two of all time that are characters that are just like, they're stupid with the things that they can do. And that Flash movie made him feel terrible.
The Justice League is pretty OP.
Yeah, the entirety of the Justice
It's
League.
pretty OP. But it's, you know what? It's very interesting to see the OP conversation for DC because, like a Dark Side, I would probably say yes. However, there's so many unique power sets that are at like the forefront of DC in comparison to like the Avengers, to where they have to limit it a little bit more. And I think with Snyder and the whole crew, that was a really good example of OP in presence, but not OP in presence in terms of delivery of what they did.
Yeah, for
I'm
sure.
telling you that they're OP, but
yeah, Dr. Fate, Black Adam,
nasty.
Shazam, trying to think, Green Lantern, any of them, when you think about it, are technically OP.
Wonder Woman for 30 seconds.
Supergirl.
Power Girl.
Power Girl, yeah.
Lobo.
Hey,
Anyone
Young Bike
from
Rider.
Injustice 2?
Yeah. Like there's so many OP characters.
Blue Beetle and Injustice 2.
In the right hands. In the right hands. Yeah, Squirrel Girl.
Deep cut.
We just, next week will be really interesting. I hope you guys do come back for that, because we're really, this was kind of like this the setup to it. We're going to get deep into it, especially with the Russos for setting up for Doomsday. And I'm curious to see if you guys think if it'll raise any red flags, or maybe align with some red flags that you guys have for the movies after we got Hours of Chairs.
Yeah. Because I think this conversation stems from a tweet of, can they handle OP characters? And to that point, that just means the entire story of Secret Wars and Doomsday. Because again, both of these films are going to be littered with OP characters. So if they can't handle them well, it's going to feel pretty weird, especially given the fact that, and we'll get much deeper into it next week, but like something that we've been saying to each other personally, all three of us, is that the Russos had a sandbox built for them within the first three phases of the MCU. And they were told, go have fun, play, make something. They made Infinity War and Endgame. And ultimately, they made a mess. They left a mess of things. And then they took their ball and they went home. They left. They're like, bye-bye. I'm not cleaning that up. And they left. Now, the next Avengers film, that sandbox got bigger. They constructed it and it got bigger. 10 times bigger. And they were like, you're going to come back? And they're like, yeah, of course. We want to play in that awesome sandbox. They came back. The mess that they left is still there. And the mess from the construction of the sandbox is now there too. And they're like, have fun.
Yeah.
So can the Russos handle OP? And what does that mean for Doomsday and Secret Wars?
Stay tuned.
Yeah. It means Doom, potentially.
Uh-oh.
In what way?
Yeah. Oh, Dill. That's we're gonna leave you guys with these two comments, because I think this is a great way to sum it up. You had the stone, you fumbled. IKEA instructions. Dang you, Billy bookcases. Dang you. It's true. I'm excited. So join us on Discord. If you guys have any thoughts on maybe characters that the Russos have had across Captain America to Winter Soldier to Civil War to both Infinity War and Endgame. If you want to see us talk about anything specifically, let us know. We'll weave that in. But everyone, I think that's going to be our live stream for the night.
Yeah, I think so. Go watch our 2 videos. Go watch our Superman reaction trailer. I think it's up
right now.
There you go.
Speedy Brando. Dang.
Internet died for it.
Sacrifice. Well worth it. Yeah. All right, y'all. Well, we'll catch y'all in the other virtual world on our Discord. But everyone, until next Wednesday, 9:10 Eastern, 3 things that you have to keep doing. You have to keep watching. Stealing this from you, Hero. You got to keep watching Superman. You got to keep reading Superman. You got to keep nerding out about Superman. I'll see y'all in the next one.